Tonight, Tropical Storm Gordon closer to making landfall. How its strong winds and rain could help our red tide situation.
Plus, 1 year later and still no sign of Jabez Span. An update on the search for that missing Sarasota teen.
And new developments in a 15-year-old cold case out of Collier County. Why a popular filmmaker is now involved. Your Suncoast News starts now.
You're watching ABC7 News at 5.
Good evening, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
I'm Scott Dennis. Thanks for being with us tonight. Topping our news, all eyes on the Gulf of Mexico as Tropical Storm Gordon makes its way to the northern Gulf Coast.
You're looking live at the conditions on Pensacola Beach right now, where you can see rain, a rough surf, and dark gray skies. Let's get over to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with an update on that storm. Bob?
Yeah, the panhandle of Florida is going to get hit hard with heavy rainfall for the most part. They're not going to see those strong winds around the core, but they will see the potential for tropical storm force winds as they extend 80 miles out from the center. The tropical storm force winds are still tropical storm force too. Winds have gone up to 70 miles an hour, getting close to hurricane status, but not quite there yet. And there's a chance, an outside chance, that it could strengthen into a hurricane right before landfall. It is located about 90 miles southeast of Mobile, pushing off toward the northwest now at 15 miles an hour. Top winds are up to 70, so getting close to hurricane status. It's moving to the northwest at 15 miles an hour, so it's set to make landfall late tonight or early morning on into Wednesday. The pressure at 1,000 millibars, so it really hasn't strengthened too much. We are starting to see some deep convection around the center of the storm, and it looks as though, as I said, it has a slight chance developing into a hurricane prior to landfall. Once it reaches land, looks like somewhere into Mississippi or even Alabama, there's a chance it will weaken considerably. In fact, pretty quickly tomorrow, it should be just a tropical depression pushing off toward the northwest and bringing a lot of rainfall. Rainfall could be as much as 12 inches in some isolated areas. You see all that rain, too, already spreading into the panhandle of Florida, right there near Pensacola. So they're going to get hit hardest, I think, with the heavy rainfall for the next several hours. Again, 90 miles southeast of Mobile, pushing to the northwest. Storm surge, not a big factor. It's going to be 2 to 4 feet, I think, the maximum as far as that goes. And as far as we're concerned, we're still getting some rainfall here, in fact, developing as a result of southeasterly winds picking up pretty quickly. These showers have been popping up within the last half hour or so, producing some pretty heavy downpours. We had some near Anna Maria Island, also northwest Bradenton. Another line starting to develop just to the northwest in Northport, pushing off toward the northwest. So look for periods of showers, and they will be rather heavy at times. Some lightning strikes are possible as well, like we're seeing now near Siesta Key, also near Lido, with some pretty heavy rainfall there. We're tracking another system out there in the Atlantic too. This is Florence. Top winds are at 85, so it is a hurricane. It's expected to move off to the northwest. We'll talk more about that and the rest of the tropics, which are really starting to heat up in just a couple of minutes. Back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you. Many are wondering if the wind and rain from Gordon will help break up the area's red tide outbreak.
ABC7's Taylor Torregano spoke with beachgoers and scientists about the conditions today and what we can expect. Taylor?
Good evening, Jacqueline. Scott. At Lido Beach today, the conditions were much like Siesta Beach this Labor Day weekend. There were no dead fish and no fishy smell, but the water did remain that murky brown color. Beachgoers there told me they did expect Tropical Storm Gordon to wipe the last of that red tide away. On this Tuesday afternoon, Lido Beach looked a lot like it did before the deadly algal blooms hit the Suncoast.
So we were expecting kind of the worst.
Roy and Pam Amy came all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, with the fear that this visit wouldn't include a relaxing lounge on Lido. Lucky for them, it appears that conditions are improving.
And when we got here, we were kind of pleasantly surprised that there wasn't too much stuff on the beach. I mean, they're very clean. There wasn't a smell. We kept hearing, like, even inland, there was a horrific smell. But right now, in the last few days we've been here, it's been good.
So do we owe our thanks to Tropical Storm Gordon's gusty winds and torrential downpour? Most scientists say we do.
Partially due to the coming storm, we've had offshore winds. That means winds blowing from land towards the Gulf. And that's helped to keep the effects of the red tide off of the beach.
Unfortunately, this breath of fresh air may be short-lived.
As recent as Sunday, there was a satellite image that still indicates a significant and intense bloom along the central West Florida coast, all the way from Pinellas County down into Collier and towards the Keys.
In fact, Dr. Loveco says this is the time of year a new bloom typically starts to form. So even though the winds from Gordon are passing through the western panhandle, this storm likely won't be enough to permanently disperse these strong Carinea brevis cells.
The more you can mix the water up and dilute that bloom water with water that does not have red tide cells in it, the better chance there is of dispersing and diluting the bloom. But that doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Now, while it doesn't appear that Tropical Storm Gordon will be enough, Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan has details about what kind of storm would be strong enough to have a long-term effect on this bloom. Bob?
It's all about the motion of the storm, too. The motion of the storm here is off from the southeast to the northwest. So we've had mainly easterly wind flow, and it's been a rather small storm in that it hasn't generated a lot of waves and a lot of surf riding into the west coast of Florida. So you need that mixing to take place. What we would need is a storm from southwest to northeast, and that would cause us to see some onshore flow, some bigger waves, and a little bit more dispersion taking place with that red tide near the coast. That east wind really doesn't cause the surf to be too high. In fact, it flattens it out a little bit here along the west coast. So a bigger storm would also be necessary, although we don't want a bigger storm. What we really need is a cold front to move on through. You have to realize that red tide is just not a top water situation that has taken place. We have it in the middle column of the water as well as even at the bottom column of the water in the Gulf of Mexico. So although the surface may be blowing off toward the west and the effects may be taking that off toward the west, again, it could still linger, as we just heard from the moat scientists there. Cold fronts are a big deal because cold fronts, when they move on through, they generate high surf coming from the northwest and really cause that water to disperse here along the west coast of Florida. It doesn't happen usually until mid-October when we see a big cold front move through and really mix that water up quite a bit. And those fronts are usually fairly weak as well. So we'll have to wait a while. Obviously, we don't want a storm in the Gulf. And once this one gets through, there aren't any indications that we'll see any storm anytime soon. We'll have more in the tropics, though. There are a couple of brewing out there in the Atlantic. Details on that coming up in a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you. In the wake of the red tide outbreak, the Vice Mayor of Venice is taking a strong stance against fertilizers polluting the Gulf of Mexico. Vice Mayor Bob Daniels says the city can do more to reduce red tide. Daniels will bring up a plan next week to the City Council to stop all use of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers. He says the runoff into the Gulf is making red tide worse.
This particular season, it was devastating. I've never seen the larger species of fish, birds, and when we got our lifeguards wearing respirators and our people walking on the beach wearing respirators, and we had over 100 tons of dead fish killed right here in the Sarasota beach area. This is devastating.
Daniels will raise the issue at the next council meeting a week from today.
It's been exactly 1 year since Sarasota teenager Jabez Spann went missing. Spann was just 14 years old when he disappeared. He was last seen at a candlelight vigil on 22nd Street and Palmadelia Avenue in Sarasota, just 2 blocks from his home. Over the last year, Sarasota police and the FBI estimate they've received about 100 tips in this case, but it all led to a dead end.
There's only one thing that's hurting them when it comes to, finding the baby, is because there's a gap. No one trusts the police, or they don't have a strong enough relationship with this community.
There is still a $50,000 reward for any information leading to Spann's whereabouts.
Filmmaker Tyler Perry is raising the reward to help solve the case of 2 missing Florida men. A wrongful death lawsuit was filed against former Collier County Sheriff's Deputy Steve Calkins for his connection in the disappearance of Terrence Williams and Felipe Santos. They were last seen in Naples nearly 15 years ago. Both men were arrested by Calkins and placed in his patrol vehicle in separate incidents almost 3 months apart. Calkins has not been charged but was fired for not cooperating with investigators.
When I first offered the $100,000 reward asking for information, we have not gotten any leads. I'm raising that reward to $200,000 for information. $200,000 for information that will help lead to the conviction of who we believe to be the culprit in this, which was Steve Calkins.
Prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump says he wants to bring the case in front of a jury. He also said he will subpoena Calkins.
St. Pete police say a woman is in the hospital tonight after a pickup truck plowed through her house. 38-year-old Ashley Zerla was reportedly laying in her bed when the truck came crashing through the wall last night. Police say 44-year-old Samuel Anderson was cited for careless driving. The woman's injuries are considered non-life-threatening.
Coming up, Tropical Storm Gordon intensifying as it heads closer to the Gulf Coast. We'll look at how people are preparing for the storm.
And Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan will be back with your first alert forecast, plus a look at the new federal guidelines for concussions in kids. Stay with us. I'll be right back.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
I thought I was too far gone. I wasn't.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
The world is a beautiful place again.
For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral for mental and substance use disorders for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Reorganizing a space in your home? Save up to 15% on our premium finishes during the California Closets Autumn Upgrade event. Contact us today for a free design consultation. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP is the largest locally owned CPAP supply company in the area. Is it time to replace your old equipment? The staff at Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP can show you the most up-to-date CPAP equipment and supplies to meet your sleep apnea needs, including portable travel devices and the SoClean automatic CPAP sanitizer. We serve all of Southwest Florida, giving the highest quality of care with the finest CPAP equipment. Please visit our website, sarasotacpap.com.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Detoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Reorganizing a space in your home? Save up to 15% on our premium finishes during the California Closets Autumn Upgrade event. Contact us today for a free design consultation. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
The northern Gulf Coast bracing for Tropical Storm Gordon. Schools were canceled today ahead of the storm, and authorities have been handing out sandbags to families, reminding them that the best thing they can do is prepare before the storm.
The Gulf Coast is bracing for its first major storm of the season.
Now is the time to pay attention. We do not give idle threats.
And Gordon is gaining steam. It's expected to make landfall along the Mississippi coastline as a Category 1 hurricane.
Make your plan, make sure your family knows what it is.
Residents from Louisiana to Alabama are getting ready, prepping against heavy rains, coastal flooding, and high winds, anticipated to be up to 75 miles per hour. The storm has already drenched South Florida. Police were urging drivers there to stay off the flooded roads.
The roads are really flooded, so you have to drive super slow.
Now, Mississippi and Louisiana have declared states of emergency ahead of the storm.
Our absolute #1 priority is public safety.
They know what these storms can bring. Just last year, Mississippi was dealing with Hurricane Nate and its 85-mile-per-hour winds and 30-foot waves. That storm flooded Biloxi casinos.
The storm surge has completely engulfed the first floor here.
Now they're getting ready for another direct hit.
Last year, this entire area where we're standing was underwater, and people here tell us they expect the very same thing to happen with this storm. And that's because, again, the main concerns with Gordon are that heavy rain and flooding, both here along the coast and further inland. Maggie Bruley, ABC News, Biloxi, Mississippi.
Bob, what do you think the impacts of this will be up there?
Well, flooding the big concern, and it looks like not a big storm as far as the winds, field goes. It does go out 80 miles as tropical storm force winds, but it could have been much worse. Obviously, it still has a chance to become a hurricane. That wind would be up to 75 miles an hour, but as far as hurricanes go, it'd still be a minimal one. Get a look at the satellite imagery. This is the color enhanced, not color enhanced, black and white, a little more detail of this system. And again, most of the deep convection is on the right side or the dirty side of the storm. So although they're talking about Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, Florida, the Panhandle is going to get slammed with some very heavy rainfall. I would not be surprised to see folks up here in the Panhandle getting the heaviest amount of rainfall from it, as all these bands of moisture will continue to rotate around it right on into the Panhandle of Florida as it pushes off to the northwest. Now, the color enhanced satellite imagery showing the deep convection right here. There's the Panhandle, and the low pressure center is right about here, so it's void of deep convection on the western portion of it. Most of it's to the east, and it's going to cause significant flooding problems. We could see some isolated areas getting up to 12 inches of rainfall. Most everyone's going to get at least 4 to 8 inches in this area from the Panhandle stretching all the way over into Mississippi. But you'll notice there's not much going on to the west of this system right now, with most of the activity right around its center and to the right of it. There's the center spinning and rotating right there. With the heavier storms piling on shore. We're going to get some heavy weather here too, not directly associated with Gordon, but the wind flow is moving into Gordon right now, and it looks like a band trying to develop, a convergence band. And some heavy rainfall set to move into parts of Lakewood Ranch here, at least to the west of Lakewood Ranch. Right now, a couple of lightning strikes just within the last 10 minutes there along Bee Ridge and also up to Fruitville. All this moving off to the northwest at around 20 miles an hour. Some places that it's going to have an impact if it does reach there. North Sarasota around 5:23, so not too long from now. Another line developing near Charlotte Harbor, and looks like Placida and Rotunda just to the east, and Northport getting some rainfall right now. And as far as the motion goes, pretty quickly off to the northwest. And so that's what we're going to see, at least for the next couple of hours before we lose the energy of the day. With temperatures today into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees, there's plenty of energy out there. There's plenty of energy out in the Atlantic, too. This is Florence. Florence now a hurricane. Top winds up to 85 miles an hour. It continues to spin off toward the west-northwest. And I showed you this earlier. The forecast models are starting to show more of a northerly bend. Now, there were a few that were saying that it's going to stay more on a westerly course. Even the European has changed its mind now and is going more with the GFS, taking it off into the open waters of the Atlantic. The UK Met continues to keep it on a westerly course, so we'll watch it, but it's good to hear that most of the models now starting to agree in that northerly turn. As we look at the European model, this is Friday, showing that system moving off toward the northwest and eventually to the north. But we have two other areas of concern out there, way out there in the Atlantic we'll keep an eye on. This one in particular has an 80% chance developing in the next 5 days as it moves off to the west. And hopefully it goes around the periphery of this high pressure ridge and follows the same path as Florence may, and we're counting on that. And there's another one coming off the coast of Africa behind that, right around September 12th. So this is the peak of hurricane season. That's what you would expect. Lots of activity out there in the Atlantic. Right now, nothing threatening us. 85 degrees, it feels like 95, and the winds are out of the northwest at 6 there at the airport, but generally out of the southeast. Highs tomorrow will still warm to near 90 degrees. A little bit better chance to see some more scattered storms in the afternoon on Thursday as opposed to Wednesday. The chances tomorrow only at 40%. So let's get to the boating forecast. Winds will be out of the east basically to start the morning off at 10 knots. So the winds will be coming down a little bit. They'll stay out of the east, thankfully, for the effects of that red tide. Seas running 1 to 2 feet. And the extended forecast, we're going to stay in that easterly flow pattern all the way through the next 7 days. So if you like today, it won't be as windy tomorrow, and we'll see a good chance for scattered afternoon storms each and every day. It looks like right through Tuesday of next week. some of those storms could be strong at times late in the day. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Bob. And health news tonight, back to school means back to sports for many kids. If your child is involved in contact sports, you may want to listen to the latest recommendations on head injuries. Here's ABC's Emily Rao.
As summer comes to a close, parents are gearing up for the back-to-school frenzy. For parents of children in contact sports, the worry of a head injury is very real. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has released updated guidelines for concussions that both parents and doctors should know. According to the new guidelines, even a minor head injury should be taken seriously. Children 6 years and older that experience symptoms like headache, nausea, or vomiting following a head injury should be seen by a doctor within 48 hours of the injury. For children less than 6 years old who may have more subtle symptoms, go to the doctor as soon as possible for a complete exam. The guidelines also encourage close monitoring, reevaluation before returning to full activity, and asking as many questions as possible when your child's health is at stake. With this Medical Minute, I'm Emily Rao, ABC News.
The nasal spray flu vaccine is back on the CDC's recommended list of flu protection options, but the American Academy of Pediatrics says the shot should be your first choice. The spray's manufacturer suggests that a new formula may protect against the flu just as well as the shot, but the pediatrics group says there's no real-world proof of that just yet. The AAP recommends the flu shot as the first choice for kids and says you should only consider the nasal spray vaccine as a backup, such as for children who are scared of needles. Coming up, a terrifying home invasion all caught on camera, and a crane tears through the roof of a home after toppling over. More on those stories coming up next.
All Honda SUV and truck inventory with clearance savings from $189 a month during the Honda Summer Spectacular event. HRVs, CRVs, Pilots, Odysseys, Ridgelines on clearance for up to $4,240 less than the competition. Honda SUVs are on clearance from $189 a month, or save thousands with 0.9% financing this week at your local Honda dealer.
Our nurse, Jennifer, all we did is pick up the phone if I was having a bad day, and the next thing we know, she was here at the door. I can't believe that I would have received any greater care anywhere. From that moment on, everything changed dramatically, and I don't know what we would have done without that.
Investigate TV tackles the tough topics.
What happened to my life was awful.
When your health is compromised, we investigate.
They are really drug dealers in white coats.
Corporate greed exposed.
How do you trust them to run this program?
The powerful held accountable with in-depth journalism led by award-winning journalist Lee Zurich. We're your watchdog. Search Investigate TV on your Roku device. Download it now.
About every 3 minutes in America, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Light the Night brings together survivors and supporters to bring light to the darkness of cancer and to help fund life-saving research. Our goal is a world without blood cancers, and we're lighting the path to cures. The discoveries made in blood cancer research have led to breakthrough treatments for many cancers and other serious diseases. Help defeat the darkness of cancer. Join Light the Night today.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Today, everyone is looking for more fashionable choices in flooring than ever before. And G. Fried has responded with a huge selection of carpets, tile, wood, laminate, and vinyl. Installed by a highly skilled team, G. Fried has got everything you're looking for and more. The next time you think about quality flooring, think G. Fried Flooring America. G. Fried Flooring America. Our world is at your feet.
Let's check First Alert traffic. We're seeing Fruitville Road backed up in the downtown Sarasota area. This is heading both east and west between US 41 and US 301. Bandits bust their way into a South Florida home. Security cameras capturing the violent confrontation.
And I woke up with a pistol in my face.
Victim says he was sleeping on his couch around 4:30 in the morning last week when two masked men burst through the front door, one pointing a gun. You can see the thieves manhandle him, tackling him to the ground before eventually tying him up and his fiancée. They ransacked the house, taking any jewelry they could get their hands on. Cameras captured a partial glimpse of the robbers' faces and a potential key clue the victim hopes will help police track them down. A crane topples onto a home in an Orlando neighborhood, splitting that house in half. Take a look. Video from the scene shows the large crane lying directly through the middle of the roof. It appears that roof was under construction when the crane fell. This all happened around 11:30 this morning. And take a look at the photos taken at the scene. It's unclear whether anyone was in the home at the time, but officials do say no one was hurt.
Labor Day weekend started with a fun kayaking trip for a Volusia County couple and their grandkids until the group had to be rescued from the water. The group got lost after they paddled to an island for lunch and then got turned around when they left. Dispatch pinged the caller's cell phone and realized that they were only a mile and a half northwest of the ranger station. But with no compass or GPS on board, a rescue was their only option. The flight medic was able to get the kids in kayaks over to an FWC boat about a quarter mile away, and they towed the adults back to land from there. A New York church is getting attention for their new lawn care service. These 3 sheep are newly arrived to the Basilica of St. Patrick's Old Cathedral from upstate New York. Their job is, pun intended, lambscaping. That means they help maintain the grounds by eating grass and fertilizing it. The sheep are still getting used to city noises and getting gawked at by New Yorkers, of course. They're on loan for the month of September only. Church members say it's a tradition that they started 5 years ago. Kind of like that.
They're doing a good job, looks like, yeah.
Well, still to come on your Suncoast News, a survivor of a deadly boat crash speaking out about the horrifying accident.
And what's being done to meet the growing needs of a foster care group here on the Suncoast.
Reorganizing a space in your home? Save up to 15% on our premium finishes during the California Closets Autumn Upgrade event. Contact us today for a free design consultation. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.
If you think it's hot outside, just wait until you see even hotter savings inside. Only at Rugs As Art Hot Summer Savings Sale event will you find the lowest prices on a vast selection of stunning rugs, furniture accents, and accessories. This special event only happens once a year, so hurry in before the best selections are gone. The Hot Summer Savings event ends soon, so don't miss out on the best prices ever. Rugs As Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
When I was growing up, my mom told us, always treat others the way you want to be treated. She did business with companies that shared her values, like Mutual of Omaha. She had a guaranteed whole life insurance policy through United of Omaha Life Insurance Company, a Mutual of Omaha company. When my mother passed away, her United of Omaha policy helped cover her funeral expenses and bills, and they had money on its way to us within 24 hours.
United of Omaha is here to take care of you. When you call the number on your screen, we'll help find the right policy for you. If you're between 45 and 85, you can get coverage up to $25,000 with no medical exam. Call us right now at the number on your screen.
Now I know I'll be taking care of my family, even after I'm gone.
United of Omaha guaranteed whole life insurance. Call or go online now. Be there for their future.
When you are home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221.
Reorganizing a space in your home? Save up to 15% on our premium finishes during the California Closets Autumn Upgrade event. Contact us today for a free design consultation. Visit our showroom or online at californiaclosets.com.